Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday. I'm your host Jim Wiggin, back again with some more train goodness for you guys tonight. If you are joining us live on the live stream, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your support. If you are following up later and watching us on YouTube, thanks for finding us. And while you're there at YouTube, if you're enjoying this content, if you enjoy to see behind the scenes of what Athearn's working on, what we've got new around the corner, what we're doing, maybe what show we're going to next, go ahead and click subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video drops. And with that, let's get this show started with some shout outs. And let's see who's joining us tonight. I see Trackside Mike, Dylan, Daniel, Reading Area Rail Fan, Late Night Model Railroad is here, Brody, George, Ronald, Mr. Brian Stackpole is here, and Bobby, DG Model Works is in the house. Butch and Anthony, got a few guys showing up. Want to check out what we're going to talk about tonight. We're talking about some N scale. We're talking about some HO scale. We're talking about Athearn Genesis tank cars. Not just any tank cars, but I'll get into that in more detail in a moment. We're also going to be talking about some Athearn HO scale 60-foot box cars that I know you're going to love. And remember, everything that I talk about tonight, you have until Friday, the 27th of January to place your pre-orders. Now, by the 27th of January, I'm going to be in Massachusetts, not Illinois. So we'll talk a little bit more about that to find out why I'm going to be in Massachusetts, along with some of my co-workers here at Athearn. Let's do another round of shout-outs. I see Ian, Shannon, Dave BNSF N Scale, Walter, and Terry. And who else is joining us here? Just showing up, I see Kyle, Jason, Jesse, Zach, William, Butch, Donnie. We've got some folks that have joined us here before many times. Idaho Rail Fan. And let's see, Daniel, Dylan, George, Forrest. I think I've got just about everybody. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight, because like I said, we're going to be talking about, well, we're going to start with Genesis. So let's go ahead and get ready by showing you what is going on in Genesis. Now, again, these are going to be in both HO and N scale. So these are have been in the Genesis line before in HO scale, and this is the first time we've offered them in Genesis and N scale. So wanted to go in depth a little bit on these. Now, this first one that I'm showing you, this is one of the 33,000 gallon LPG tank cars. This is the late model. This was announced back in July of 2021. And guess what? It's actually in stock now. If you really like this car or one like it, these are in stock at your dealer now. So go ahead and you can grab one of these now, and then you can also pre-order the ones that we're going to talk about next. Let's look at some of the details. Now, this is the HO scale version. Now, since it is Athearn Genesis, you're going to have the cut levers. You're going to have the air hose. You're going to have all of this wire detail, which really makes these really nice looking cars. They present themselves really well. And of course, there's different body styles depending on the era. Now, we've even refined the HO scale ones just a little bit, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, here's the N scale version. Now, you N scale guys, I want you to pay attention here. This is the standard, former run. This was one that we ran a couple years back. It still has a lot of the great detail that you see here. All this braking detail, all this wire detail is included on the N scale models. But now that they've been upgraded to Genesis, they're going to have even more detail. Now they're going to have shelf couplers. They're going to have cut levers. See, there's no cut levers here yet. The Genesis ones will have cut levers. They'll also have air hoses. So they're going to share a lot of the details that the HO scale versions already have. So with that being said, let's talk about which ones we're offering. So the following road names are going to be offered in both HO and N scale. Now what we have here is GATX car number 218081. This is based on a paint scheme from 2015 on up. Little bit of background. GATX Corporation is a railcar leaser that owns fleets in North America, Europe, and Asia. In addition, jointly with Rolls-Royce Limited, it owns one of the largest aircraft spare engine lease portfolios. Now, it's headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. As of December 31st, 2020, the company owned, get this, 148,939 rail cars, including 83,959 tank cars, 64,980 freight cars, and 645 locomotives. Now, what we're doing with this car to help you guys that are doing operations out even more, and again, this is both with the HO and the N scale versions, these are going to include the placards with the UN number 1075. That basically means it's lettered for LPG gas, non-odorized. So if you've got an industry that has LPG gas, this is what you're going to be looking for. Coming up next, this is Procar 34693. This is based on a 2017 paint scheme. Background on this is a Canadian company producing railway shipping cars. It is Canada's largest private rail car rental fleet with more than 30,000 conventional and special purpose tank and freight cars. Now, this car is going to have a placard with the UN number of 1075, so that's also for LPG gas, non-odorized, and it's also going to have some decals included to personalize that a little bit. Here we have Trinity Industries Leasing. This is car number 501115. This is based on a 2017 paint scheme. Trinity Industries, Inc. is an American industrial corporation that owns a variety of businesses which provide products and services to the industrial, energy, transportation, and construction sectors. Placards that will be included with this car will be UN number 1005. This is for all you guys that have maybe a farming industry, and hydrous ammonia. We actually had some guys asking for this, and a lot of the operation guys, I mean, you might have an FS station on your layout. These are perfect for that. You see these all over the Midwest and Canada. Here is Union Tank Car. This is car number 910225. This is a mid-2000s paint scheme. Now, Union Tank Car Company, or short UTLX, is a railway equipment leasing, railcar maintenance, and railcar manufacturing company. They're headquartered just north of me right now up in Chicago, Illinois. They are a direct descendant of Standard Oil. Perhaps you've heard of them. The firm today is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, and this one's going to have blank placards. Coming up next, this one's actually Chevron USA. This is car number 11051. This is a 2021 paint scheme, so one of the more recent ones in this run. Chevron Corporation is an American multinational energy corporation, predominantly in oil and gas. They are the second largest direct descendant of Standard Oil, and originally known as Standard Oil Company of California. Shortened to SoCal or CalSo, it is headquartered in San Ramon, California, and active in more than 180 countries. Now, this is going to have placards for UN number 1075, again, for LPG gas, non-odorized. And then final, we've got the Southern Illinois Rail Car. This is going to be placarded with the UN number 1075, again, LPG gas, non-odorized. So most of these cars in this series are going to be for LPG. We've got that one for anhydrous for you guys that are modeling anything that may have farming industry to it, such as an FS station. A few of the features that we want to talk about on these cars, and I'm going to bring up the HO scale car first so you can kind of point out the details as I talk. For this run, we're offering them, each car that you've seen so far is being offered as a single. Now the retail in HO scale is $64.99. Again, please realize that is retail. That is not the price that you're going to pay. You need to talk to your dealer to see what your price is going to be. That's just a manufacturer suggested retail price. Now you can also order one of two or both the two 3-packs that we're offering in this series. They're $169.99. So what we have here is we've got multiple road numbers with unique numbers between singles and 3-packs. That way you don't have to worry about duplicate numbers. There's 3 different body phases. There's the early, the flat panel, and the late. Separately applied walkway platform, manway, outlet, ladders, brake, photo etched metal walkways and end platforms, rigging detail, safety rail support and tank saddles, wire safety rails and end handrails, full underframe detail featuring body-mounted brakes or printed placards where appropriate, truck-mounted brakes as prototype, body-mounted McHenry scale double shelf knuckle couplers, 100-ton trucks with animated roller bearing caps and printed road numbers, machine metal wheels with the RP25 contours, accurately painted and printed based on a prototype because these are Genesis. Coupler lift cut levers, train line hoses, brake hoses, and hardware, and of course they're weighted per NMRA standards. Now for you guys, most people that are going to buy a Genesis car of this quality, they're probably going to leave it either on their home layout or maybe a club layout. They're very delicate, so most guys leave these on their home layouts. You want to know what size radius is best with these? They will go navigate through an 18-inch radius curve. However, we recommend a 22-inch radius for the ultimate and scale authenticity. Now moving on to the features of the N scale. Just because they're N scale and just because they're smaller doesn't mean they're going to have less detail. In fact, these are going to have more detail than we've ever offered before because they're in the Genesis class. Like the HO scale brethren, we have a single version that's going to retail for $39.99 and 2 different 3-packs that will retail for $104.99. They're all going to include McHenry double shelf couplers, bent wire uncoupling levers, rubber train line hoses, and here we go. We're going to have the different types of bodies, mainly the early or the late phase. And here's some of the details that have been applied. Separately applied walkway platform, manway, outlet, ladders, brakes, photo etched metal walkways and end platforms, rigging detail, safety rail supports, tank saddles and brake wheel, wire safety rails and end handrails, printed placards where appropriate. Remember, when I kept referring to the different UN numbers, those are applicable for N scale too. It's not just the HO guys that get that. So UN scale guys that are getting into operations, remember that. Screw mounted 100-ton roller bearing trucks, machine metal wheels that will work great on everything from code 80 all the way down to code 40. Highly detailed injection molded body. Of course, they're going to be weighted to the proper NMRA specs, and body mounted couplers. That's a big deal for N scale. Now, what's the minimum radius on these guys? Believe it or not, 9 3/4 is perfectly fine. They're going to look much better though on a radius of 11 inches. So N scale guys, this is your month. There's a lot of stuff that we're introducing this month that is in N scale that the HO scale guys have had for a little bit, and happy to say that now we're bringing those into N scale. So before we go on to our next round of items, let's see what kind of questions we might have. Late Night saying, these LPG tank cars look great. When are we going to see another run of ethanol tank cars? Well, off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's probably safe to say we'll see that within at least a year. Those are a strong contender, and they're a good selling item. So Jason's hitting me where it hurts because he knows I'm an automotive fan. Neat little background here. He's saying, Jim, there's a fun fact. At one time, Chevron's land management division acquired the former site of the Ontario Motor Speedway. That's pretty cool. And as far as what you'd like to see in the future, you know what I'm going to tell you. And that goes for just the placards too. Any type of product suggestion that you may have, please go over to our website, athearn.com, select the Contact Us page, and scroll down until you see the Athearn product suggestion email. We really do value your input. We really do value what you guys are saying. Without you, there is no Athearn. So please, by all means, go to that email. Let us know what you're looking for. I'm going to scroll back a little bit to see if there are any questions while I was going through the slides. He is liking the modern day offerings. Good to hear. We get a lot of requests for modern stuff. All right. Looks like a lot of guys. So here's an interesting question, a little bit out there. Hey, Jim, read chat live. When will you be doing an O-gauge coaster set with opening doors? Well, currently we don't do O-scale. There are some other manufacturers out there that do quite well with O-scale. We primarily model HO and N. In fact, that's all we model right now is HO and N. Will we do something in the future? Well, I don't know. German Tanker, otherwise known as Johnny, he says, I'm still writing you the email for the Western Star trucks. Maybe we'll see them in the future. For some reason, I just have this image of you sitting at an old, I don't know, Commodore 64. Somehow you got it to the internet, and you're just pushing that send button over and over again. And John is sitting there looking at all these requests for a Western Star. Trust us, just because we don't reply to you doesn't mean we're ignoring you. One of the things that we've talked about is specifically when it comes to cars, trucks, automobiles, things of that nature, is licensing. What location is to real estate, licensing is to models. Licensing. So one of the things that I want to remind you guys is it's not always a cut and dry process. We're trying to work with some trucking companies. And hopefully once we get through all the things that we need to get through, our lawyers and their lawyers sit down, talk, and get everything all squared away. We're really looking forward to offering you some trucks. So don't think that we're ignoring you. We see your comments. We're trying. That would be the ones for the anhydrous. And let me go back to my notes here and I'll let you know. That is going to be the Trinity Industries Leasing. That was car number 501115. And remember, that one is available as a single car as well as 2 3-car sets. So yeah, if you've got an FS service on your layout, those would be perfect on that. All right, let's see if I got any other questions before I move on to the next segment. All right. Willie wants to know, will there still be a run of tank cars with road range like BNSF, SP, ATSF, etc.? Yeah, not in this run. These are based on modern prototypes. Will we be doing something like that in future runs? Yeah, probably, most definitely in like the Roundhouse line, probably in the Athearn line, but nothing this month for that. All right, let's move on to the next thing, and it's not Genesis, it's actually Athearn. And these are some really nice box cars. These are the Athearn HO 60-foot Gunderson double-door high-cube box cars. Now, what I'm showing you here, this is from a former run. This was announced back in April of 2020. They were delivered in 21. Let's just look at some of the detail in this car here. Now, these are Athearn, but you can see the separately applied grab irons. the photo etched crossover plate. Even if, if I can zoom in, you can even see the rivets on the stirrup there. These are gorgeous cars, and you can even read all of this wording under magnification. Now, of course, since they are an extended height boxcar, you're going to have this white band up here notifying that it is an excess height rail car. But these are perfect for you guys that are modeling. For this run anyways, we're centered mainly into the 2000s. So if you guys modeling into the early 2000s up to 2021, hang on. These are what we're offering this month. Now they are available in 3 different road numbers per road. So coming up first is Union Pacific. Union Pacific has a fleet of these, of course. This is car number 7000040, and this is based on a relatively new car. This is 2020s. For our friends up north, Canadian Pacific Railway, really nice paint scheme on this car. This is a 2000s. Many of you probably remember seeing these in the early 2000s. Again, these are being offered in 3 different road numbers. So not just the one that I'm showing you, but you've also got other variations as well in road number. For you early BNSF guys, back in the 2000s, so if you're modeling before 2005, when BNSF went to a different logo, if you're more of a circle cross type of guy, these are your box cars. This is car number 7611111. And again, this is early 2000s, back when they were called Burlington Northern Santa Fe, not simply just BNSF. Here's one that might have surprised some of you guys. Lancaster and Chester, number 607. Again, 3 different road numbers in this paint scheme. This is 2000s again. Now, something that we wanted to do a little bit different from previous cars. We did a legendary liveries. This is a cotton belt. This is a what if, and we're going to say 1998. Now, the cotton belt certainly had freight cars, certainly had a lot of different items in the railroad, but this was not one of them. As far as our Athearn developers know, this never existed, but we just thought it was too cool not to add. And why not? Maybe you model cotton belt as it is its own entity. Maybe SP never got taken over by the UP, and maybe it's still running around. But if you want to model 1998, early 2000s, here's a good representation of what the cotton belt would have looked like. And that's a striking rail car, actually. But this is legendary liveries. And again, we're going to offer that in 3 different road numbers. And let's see, last but not least, Mississippi and Tennessee. This is car number 175177. This is a 2005 on up paint scheme. And again, 3 different road numbers allows you to expand that fleet that much easier. And I lied. There is one more boxcar in this, and this is probably the most popular out of all of them combined. If you don't pre-order one of these, you will be sorry next year when these come into your dealer shops. This, of course, is the T-Box 2010s on up. Now, we consistently, and as you saw at the beginning of this segment, we consistently offer these when we offer these boxcars. They consistently sell out. Why? Well, they're probably because they're some of the most common rail cars out there. But let's be honest, it's also a real striking paint scheme. They weather really nicely. Lots of examples out there for you to model. So that one, again, that's available in 3 different road numbers. If you don't want to be disappointed, just do yourself a favor, pre-order before Friday the 27th. So a little bit of features on these cars. First of all, they are going to MSRP at $49.99 each. That's a great value considering all the details that have been added. such as the separately applied wire grab irons, the etched end platforms. These are going to have body-mounted McHenry operating scale couplers, of course, and all that painting and printing that you see, razor sharp, like I showed you in the beginning with that picture. You can read under magnification pretty much all of those warning labels. They're going to be weighted to NMRA standards. They're going to have 36-inch metal wheels with the RP25 contours, so they operate on pretty much all brands of track without any issues. Minimum radius on these, even though they're 60 foot, you can run these on an 18-inch radius. However, again, just like the tank cars previously mentioned, 22-inch radius is about the best. So with that, let's go ahead and open up the floor for a few questions, whether on the Athearn 60-footers or anything else that's on your mind. Sid wants to know status of SD90 Max and Indiana Railroad. I think he wants to know something. February, Sid. We're looking at probably early February. Let's see what else we have. Trainman says the placards on the tank cars is a nice touch, adds another touch of realism. Love it. Let me explain a little bit as to why we started doing that. One of the biggest things that we saw it in reviews, we saw it in some letters to editors of some of the magazines that are out there, such as Railroad Model Craftsman, Model Railroader. Yes, we read those. Was folks that are really into prototype operations were getting tired of buying a freight car that they thought would work for their industry, but did not once they got it home and they opened it up and they saw the fine print. And myself as a modeler and a lot of the guys at Athearn who are modelers can share that frustration. So what we wanted to do with these tank cars is we wanted to make it easier for you guys that have a specific industry, make sure you're purchasing correct freight car. So with that being said, that's why we did that, and I'm glad you guys appreciate it. It's another one of those things that we're trying to do as modelers, to think like modelers, help you guys out. Willie wants to know, will there be any Golden West Service 60-foot box cars? Not in this run. Everything that's going to be in the 60-footers is what I showed you tonight. And again, if you forget all that, you can go to athearn.com and check out the new announcements banner. All right. So remember earlier I was saying something about Massachusetts, and you're probably wondering, what is Jim talking about? Well, we're going to be on the road again here soon. Next weekend, we are headed to Springfield, Massachusetts. And why are we going to Springfield, Massachusetts? Because it is the home of the Amherst Railway Society's annual Railroad Hobby Show. Now, this is probably, quite possibly, one of the largest railroad shows in North America. I have been going to this show personally since the mid-90s, early 90s. It's one of my favorite shows. And we're going to be there. We're going to be in the Mallory building. It's section 126. So as you enter the Mallory building, look immediately to your left and you'll see the Athearn booth. This is not exactly the Athearn booth that we're going to have there, but you get the idea. We're getting packed up and ready to go. In fact, we just packed up the booth yesterday. And you're probably wondering, who's going to be there? Well, glad you asked. We're going to have 3 employees at the Athearn booth ready to answer your questions, talk trains with you, and whatnot. We're going to have category manager Mark Williams. He is the guy that oversees everything that's going on at Athearn, and he is a wealth of information. So if you want to know when your next item that you pre-order is coming in, he's probably going to know right off the top of his head, since he does all of that on a daily basis. Then we've got lead developer Jonathan Stackpole. This guy is a wealth of information. Every day he works on all of the new products that you see, including the stuff that we talked about tonight. He has a hand in all of that. So he's going to be there answering questions, talking to you, and some guy named Jim Wiggin. I'm not sure who that guy is. I think he just wants a free lunch. Also, I want to remind you guys, coming up this Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, join me and my special guest, Tony Cook, as well as John Sacradotti. We're going to be talking about the Athearn GP40-2s. Tony's going to come on board and show us some really cool prototype pictures. And we're going to talk to John Sacradotti, who is the coordinator, director, chief bottle washer of the Railroad Hobby Show at Amherst. This guy has been doing this show for, well, it seems like forever. The guy is a well-oiled machine. He has to keep track of the show pretty much year-round. It's that big of a show. There's 4 buildings if you've never been to the show, and it's 4 buildings of nothing but pure model railroad, prototype railroad goodness. If you've ever been, you know it's going to be a good show. If you've been on the fence about going to this show, you owe it to yourself to go ahead and check it out. A lot of great layouts, a lot of great stuff. Athearn's going to be there with new product that is just getting released right now. In fact, some of those items are going to be running right next door on the Dry Hill HO Scale Modular Railroad Club. So stuff that you guys pre-ordered last year that you've been asking about, you're going to see it for the first time running on a layout. You'll also see it at the booth. And one other thing, Saturday morning of the show at 10 o'clock a.m., we're going to have a special announcement because we're coming up with something new. There's something new that's coming into Athearn, and it's both an HO scale and N scale. So you're not going to want to miss that. Now, for you guys that can't make it, we're going to try to put that on a live feed so that you guys can be kept informed. But yes, Saturday, 10 o'clock, there's going to be a new announcement on the show floor at the Amherst show. So I hope to see you there. All right, with that being said, any questions before I let you guys get back to your workshop? Anthony wants to know, Jim, are you going to have samples of some of the new products at Amherst? Yes, we are. Now, when I say new, these are items that we announced previously, but you guys haven't seen them yet. Some of them are a little bit more advanced, so by the time you see them at the show, you're going to have to wait about a month or so before they actually come into stock. But trust me, the stuff that you're going to see there, you're going to be really happy with what you see. We're also going to have some what we call test shots. These are items that we have announced more recently that you're going to get to see kind of a behind the scenes look at what John does on a daily basis. John's going to have those items with him. He's going to share those with you. This is going to give you a chance to ask questions and really get to dive deep into some of our announcements. And then, of course, yeah, the all new announcement that we're going to do at 10. That's going to be the biggest thing. Yes, there's going to be a new announcement. In case you missed it, it's going to be Saturday at the show, 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to try to live stream it. So in case you can't be there, Ramsey, we will put it on live to the best of our ability. Yes, if you look at that previous slide, you'll see that I got 28th and 29th. So not this weekend, next weekend. Jay Cure wants to know, with many big ticket items delayed near a year, Jim, what can we actually expect to see in the next few months, if anything? Well, you will be seeing stuff. In fact, I'm going to have it at the show for you. There's stuff coming in February, probably some stuff coming later in March. Now, some of you guys are probably wondering, what is the holdup? Why are things taking so long? Well, in the past, we had shipping issues. You remember that. Some of you may or may not remember, but about a year or so ago, there was a chip shortage. Now, with today's technology, everything that we use, it seems like, has a chip. Everything from my Ford Mustang all the way to the toaster probably has a chip. And let's be honest, model railroading manufacturer is going to be kind of below the next F-150 or Silverado that's going to get produced. So with the chip shortage, those back orders just kept stacking. When the chips were starting to be produced again, of course, the bigger customers got their chips. And we're just now starting to see chips being used with the model railroad industry. So we are starting to catch up, but please realize, unfortunately, that does mean some delays. So there'll be some stuff. It's just going to be a little bit later than what we wanted. Any news on the Surfliner cars? Yes. They are going to be delayed, and that's partially because of that chip shortage that I was telling you about. That being said, we're going to have some stuff to show at the Amherst show to kind of give you guys a look at what's going on. Now, John showed me some amazing stuff that he's bringing, and it's really cool to see. So if you can make the Springfield show, by all means, stop by our booth at 10. If not, again, we're going to try to get that in a live stream, and trust me, there is progress being made on those Surfliner cars. We're just really up against some deadlines on those chips. All right. So a lot of guys with a lot of wish list stuff. Jason, pretty much the same on the California cars as the Surfliner cars. And let's see, looking at mainly questions on what we talked about tonight or the shows. All right. No, the TT box cars are not in 3-packs. We have 3 different road numbers for them, so you can build them up that way, but not in a multi-pack like we sometimes do. All right. Well, there you have it. A little bit longer tonight. We had a lot of great information, a lot of great stuff. Again, if you're an HO scale guy or an N scale guy, there's got to be something out there that you're going to love. And again, don't forget to check us out this Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Myself and Tony Cook, we're going to talk about those GP40-2s that we've talked about this. We're going to go into detail. And if you're a prototype person, you're going to want to stick around for that because Tony has got some absolutely amazing pictures of the GP40-2s, most of which are the ones that the Athearn developers used to pick this run. And then we're also going to talk with John Sacradotti about the Springfield show. There's going to be a lot of great stuff to hear about that. And I can tell you, John is going to get you pumped up to go to that show. So again, if you've been on the fence, go ahead and jump off the fence and go to the Springfield show. Enjoy it. It's 2 days of nothing but model train goodness. With that, I'm going to take one last look to see if there's any questions. It looks like pretty much. So time zone, I keep forgetting. I'm from the East Coast, so all I think about is the East Coast time. So it's going to be 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the Midwest, it's going to be a little bit later than that. East Coast time. Since we're going to be on Springfield, Massachusetts, it's going to be based on East Coast time. Thursday's broadcast, however, since it's being broadcast from right in the heart of Illinois, that's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. All right. I am looking forward to seeing some of you guys that are posting right now at the Springfield show and a few weeks away from now. I want to thank you all for stopping by tonight, and I hope you guys get some good work done on the hobby room. Maybe after the show, I can do some work on this layout behind me. But until we see each other again, maybe on Thursday or maybe next Tuesday, I hope everybody out there is happy and healthy. Do some good modeling, and above all, high greens, everyone. Good night.